for you?
Hi, my name is Lane Welty. My advisor for the internship is David Tanner. He is the Dean of Arts and Cultural Resources. And then I'm also working with Stephen Nicodemus, who is the Assistant Director of the Center for the Arts. I did a little bit of everything. Goodness gracious, I was doing financial reports, I was helping David with filing, I was doing the summer light plot, helping Kate in the gallery, I was looking for visual arts committee minutes, and other tasks as assigned. On the lighting plots in the theater, I worked with Donald Flynn-Quinn, who is our technical director. The very first thing I worked on as an intern was the summer light plot. So basically I was asked to do a light plot for the summer just in case we had any presenters or if anyone wanted to use the space. And actually someone is using it this summer, which is really fun. Yeah, that's the first thing I worked on. So the most difficult part of the theater work was actually the summer light plot. So even though I was the assistant lighting designer for our musical in the spring, I still felt like I had a lot to learn. But I was able to still make a plot for stage right, stage left, and for the whole stage. So basically I just, had to use what I was given without having someone next to me being like, hey, this is exactly how to do it. So basically just making sure that I was doing everything right and actually taking on the role of like a lighting designer was scary, to say the least. Scary is the wrong word. It was intimidating. It was just a little out of my element. My system for organizing and filing was whatever David wanted. Most of the time it was either by event or organization or by person. And then from there, putting the documents in chronological order. So finding the Visual Arts Committee minutes was very tedious. I had to go through a lot of different files, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of different files, trying to find minutes from anywhere, anytime. A lot of the time when I thought I'd found something new, it was just a copy of something that we already had. So that was a little frustrating, just to be like, thinking you found something and just it getting ripped out of your hands. But it was still really interesting to look at past minutes and find out what these people 30 years ago were planning for their seasons. So the marketing plan is a plan that goes out to all of the arts administration and theater, all of the arts faculty, basically being like, hey, this is what we're doing to bring more people into the Center for the Arts. This is what we can improve on. This is what's going well. This is what we can, do without. And really it's just a plan so that everyone's on the same page to know what we're doing for the benefit of the Center for the Arts going forward. The marketing plan was a little bit of everything. I was researching our competitors. I was looking at what services that they were offering, what those prices were, and really just making sure that we were on par with, some of our local competitors, so that we can bring more people into the Center for the Arts and that we can be a more competitive arts organization. In the gallery, I'm working with Kate Mashricky, who is our registrar, and then Abby Platero, who is our assistant curator. My absolute favorite thing that I did was working in the gallery with Kate. We did conditioning reports and loan agreements and just a lot of really kind of interesting things. So a conditioning report is something that we do with every single piece that comes into the gallery. So basically we look at the piece, we look at it for damage, any paint splatters, any tearing, anything like that. We look at all of that. We put it down on a conditioning report. So we just write all of the damage down, just in case something did happen in transit or with another gallery, so that we can't be held responsible for anything that has happened to it. So a loan agreement is an agreement between us and the artist, basically saying, yes, we have your work, yes, this is how much it is insured for, how much, the dimensions of it, what it's made of, all of that good stuff, just so that we make sure that we're getting the right piece of work. So when I found out I was doing conditioning reports and loan agreements, I was really excited because it's something that we learned how to do in our senior seminar in arts administration. And now I was taking something that I had learned about in theory and taking it and moving it to something that I was actually doing. So that was really cool, and it felt practical and useful, and like I was actually doing something productive. The most interesting part of editing videos was definitely looking at the final product and just understanding how everything kind of came together at the end, and realizing that the little details are so important and are really what make the production quality something that we want our audience to see. Writing for the Season magazine was kind of surreal in a way, because I absolutely did not expect David to sit me down and ask me to write a blurb for the Center for the Arts. I know there's only ever been one other intern under David who has done a blurb, so it felt really kind of awesome and special to be asked to do it. And I really just wrote about like what our season looks like and general themes, and why people should be coming to all of the arts events. I have had to work a couple events outside of the general arts administration side. In fact, just last week I was working as a member of the catering staff for an event that we were having. Our catering staff needed a couple extra hands, and David asked me if I could do it, and I said of course I could. So that was, something that wasn't quite what I was expecting, and definitely outside of my department. The most outside-the-box task that I've been assigned was definitely scraping windows. I like to think of it as beautification. From some past events that we've had on campus, there were like residue and just little random bits of things on windows and things like that. So I did go through and I wiped those all clean and scraped off what I couldn't wipe. So that was definitely not something that I was expecting to do for my internship, but it was, it ended up not being too bad. So the work culture at the CFA is definitely relaxed but professional. So everyone is so nice to each other, like very professional, just very relaxed and very kind to everybody, and very direct, but still in a way that is productive for everybody and doesn't leave anyone feeling excluded or left out. For the trajectory of my career path, I'd ideally like to end up in stage management, so basically making sure that everything is running smoothly for a theater production. And it's getting to the point where I will be like watching a game show and I'll be like, I can stage manage for this, because you need stage managers everywhere. So as I've been going through this internship, my horizons have been opened a little bit. I definitely feel prepared to go into a career after my internship. I feel like I have learned so much practical knowledge, especially on the arts administration side of my degree. And I'm just really excited now to go into the workforce. Before I was terrified, but now I feel a little more prepared and on par with the rest of my peers. I'm definitely going to take away patience and adaptability from my time as an intern. I had to learn those very, very quickly, and I thought before I was a pretty patient and adaptable person, but even more so now. Nothing is ever what it seems. Every day is completely different than what you expect it to be, but in a really good, fun way. So, yeah. I want other students to know that interning at the CFA is not just getting coffee. I have not had to memorize one coffee order, in fact. It is all practical knowledge and just really interesting things. Like, I feel like I have learned so much and that I am just ready to go out into the real world. So, this is actually my final presentation. David and I decided fairly late in the process that we wanted to do something a little more than your traditional PowerPoint. So this is my final presentation. And yeah, so we kind of rallied together a team and figured out how to do this in a very short amount of time. And by the end of this, I will have edited and filmed and written the script and done a lot on this video myself. The script was definitely a process. It was very weird because even though I'm in theater, I've never written a script before. I've written, you know, poems and other things, but never like a script. And the type of script was definitely the hardest part, just because I had to figure out, you know, the kind of the style of the video and what I really wanted our audience to know. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has helped support me through my internship, all my friends, family, and all of my amazing advisors for my internship.